his recruitment as well. All right.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Brought to you by SlapStix Comedy Club. Get your tickets now. I'll be hosting a comedy showcase on July 10th. Also have stuff on July 9th, but get your tickets now for the stand-up showcase I'll be hosting on July 10th. We'll also do improv at 7 o'clock, but there's a 7 o'clock and a 9 o'clock show, so if you want to see both those shows, you got to buy tickets for both shows. Top 5 Baylor offensive players that need to break out this season, and feel free to debate me on any of these guys or add to it. Number 3, I'm definitely going to need some input.
I'm coming at you.
I had the committee here. Marquise and A-Rob and Jack were all here, and of course Armstrong when I did this earlier today. So number 5.
Wait a minute, committee?
I had a committee.
It's a subcommittee.
I had a subcommittee day. Yeah, yes, I had subcommittee day. Number 5, Abram Smith.
Golly, I'm not so sure. Well, okay.
Here's the thing. Can they have a guy, and this is Abram Smith, that can, on 3rd down and 3, get 3 yards when you cannot pass it? Can he get 2nd down and 3 and make you out of 3rd down?
Hell, man, could they just convert a 3rd and 1 every once in a while?
Yeah.
I mean, Abram, I haven't really thought much about him, honestly, since spring ball wrapped up, but he was like the star of spring by the end of it because of all the talk about him at running back. And then, of course, in the spring game, got to flash a little bit, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, he's certainly somebody who's probably not on the top of mind for a lot of people, especially if you don't follow Baylor. You're not assuming probably anything about Abram Smith. You think, like, Treston Ebner's the running back next year. But, no, he's going to be a huge part of this offense, for sure.
And look, some of these guys are going to be names that people that outside of Baylor would recognize, but I didn't put Ebner on this list because we know what Ebner can do, and especially in the proper offense, we know what he's doing and what his role is.
Abram Smith is a great story. He was a 3,900 yards at Abilene High, scored 32 touchdowns his senior year. High level, he tore his ACL, I think, his freshman year or whenever that was with Matt Rule. It's a great story. All of a sudden, they just need some downhill runners or some one-cut guys, and Aranda and company, they go, hey, it could end up being a fantastic story in the end.
Yeah. Number 4, Josh FLEEKS. This is a guy who has never quite been used the right way, or they haven't figured out a niche for him. But when he's had breakout plays, Oklahoma State, of course, scored the touchdown against West Virginia last year that wound up sending them into overtime. He is an unbelievably athletically gifted guy who is now right in his last year, right, Craig?
I don't know what year anybody's in anymore, but no, he's just a junior.
Okay, but I mean, again, they're getting towards the end of it here with Josh FLEEKS, and he's a guy with a lot of skill that they've never
senior. I'm sorry, yeah, he is
that they haven't figured out how to use right.
Well, and he's a multifaceted type athlete who could be involved in the return game. I always thought he'd be really, really good when it came to punt return, but obviously they have Ebner that does a lot of that. And he's sometimes we could say they don't know how to use him, and then sometimes when you get opportunities, you have to make sure you get things done. That receiver position, you either are or you're not. And they've had a lot of guys that have come and go. But Joey McGuire one time said, before he leaves, you will understand how good he can be, and maybe it's going to be partially this year.
Well, I sure hope so, because his stats have certainly not. Freshman year, 126 yards receiving and a touchdown, 16 yards receiving and a touchdown. 2019, 262 yards receiving, which was a nice jump up, and a touchdown. 27 yards rushing and a touchdown. And then last year, he got 21. He caught 21 passes for 181 yards and a touchdown, and had 5 carries for 7 yards and no score. So easily last year was his worst year. And I know they played a couple less games, but, with that offense, that's not that surprising. But, yeah, he should be much more of a factor than he is, and they need to figure out how to make that happen.
All right, this is the one that got the most debate. Number 3, Ben Sims, and feel free to swap this out for Drake Dabney. But in this Jeff Grimes offense, Eric Mateos and all that, the tight ends are going to be a lot more part of catching the ball. You're going to see probably some more 12 personnel out there on the field than you would have normally. Because
when you talk like that, I get goosebumps.
Yeah, but which is 2 tight ends on the field for the zone blocking. So not only blocking, but receiving. So feel free to throw Jake Dabney and any of the other tight ends in here too. But Ben Sims seems to be the tight end number 1.
He's a dude now.
Yeah.
And I like the way Dabney seems like he has soft hands, good body. I hope that you're right. And then the kid from Australia or wherever he's from.
Christoph Hindley.
Yeah, he
Austria.
on occasion makes
Austria. Different.
It's a country. And he made a couple plays in the spring game as well.
It's a country. Yeah. Number 2, Squirrel Williams. And these last 2 are guys they need to break out because they need big plays. And God in heaven, if he could just stay healthy.
Would have beaten Iowa State at their place had he not gone down, period. End of story.
Yeah, they would have.
They need him. They need him because I don't know if anybody else on the roster can do what he does.
He could be their Darren Sproles. He could be the guy that Kansas State has now that's from Texas. It's so good. Yeah.
He can be a lot of things, but is he healthy right now?
Yeah.
I mean, is he going to be ready to play? I mean, that's my thing is just how available is he? And, wherever he is, until he's 100%, I am storing him away in bubble wrap and whatever I got to do and putting weight on him because I think he could be an absolutely special player, but he has got to be able to be on the field. And that's been very rare so far. But when he's been out there for like the brief glimpses we got, he's clearly better than every other running back on the roster in terms of making something happen. He immediately makes something, pretty much happen.
He made a really, really, really good defense at Iowa State look silly. And I'll tell you what.
They had no answer
when
for him.
you say he's got to stay on the field, that's the injury part. But they also have to have an offense that stays on the field, too, because that's when you're going to get more snaps, which means otherwise you don't get but 50, 60 snaps in a game.
And number 1, TYQUAN Thornton.
Wouldn't you like for a spelling bee? What's the name of that spelling bee thing that they do? And it was
the Scripps National
and
Spelling
they did the Scripps National Spelling Bee, and it was the word squirrel, and they spelled it the way his name is, and they lost.
Yeah. Number 1, TYQUAN Thornton needs to be TYQUAN Thornton again. He was not TYQUAN Thornton that we got to see his first couple years last year. He needs to be TYQUAN Thornton. I'm talking South Florida speed, buddy. Like that's what he was out of Miami. Those guys can straight up run, and that's what he was. And then last year he was non-existent.
Yeah.
And he needs to find his superpowers again, which he had. And he was really hard to stop at times in 2019 and 2020. He was just might as well have not been there most of the time.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, for a dude that can get down the field in a hurry, he hadn't had anybody to throw it to him down there in a long time, or if ever in his career. I mean, I know on occasion Charlie could hit a pass, but that was on occasion. That wasn't with regularity. And with TYQUAN's speed, he should be much more of a threat than he was. I mean, last year was easily his worst year at Baylor. Easily his worst year at Baylor. Had just 1 touchdown, had barely over 150 yards receiving, and only caught 16 passes. I mean, that's 2 passes. What did they go last year? They were, 2-7? 2-7. So 2-7, and he caught 6. So in 9 games, he caught less than 2 balls a game. TYQUAN freaking Thornton.
And there was a time when there was concerns about whether he shut it down. He got hurt along with Lovett and a couple of others. Not to question it because a lot of times it was concussion-based. But, and he looked he did look bigger. And what I also noticed, and again, it's not put by 5-10 pounds, he looked happy. He looked happy as well. Okay, we got to go.
I'll say this. The one thing about him, I know we got to go, but he averaged over 17 yards per catch his first 2 years, and last year it was 9.9.
Happy birthday to Eric Mateos. Greg, great stat there. Dan Lust, Alvin